Okay, so, and I'm not sure how much of this I got on that list video. So this is talking about the autonomic nervous system, our flight or fight. That's, the sympathetic nervous system, the parasympathetic nervous system, the rest digest part, this autopilot part of our nervous system that we engage with the use of that special kind of breathing that I talked about for a couple weeks, and that turning the senses inward. Also, we become more aware of our energetic body, so by taking our sensory system that's usually associated with the physical body and turning it inwards, we can start to relate to those more inward layers of our being, and pay attention to those energy currents that I've talked about for a couple of weeks. And then two, the chakras, I've been kind of looking at that in relation to our endocrine system, and I don't know that much about that either, but that has an effect on our mental disposition. And so by affecting these parts of the energy body and some of these things that are not in our conscious control normally, parts of the physical body, we can make ourselves more aware of our conditioning. So what I wrote down here is we proceed through the asanas, the postures in the ashtanga system, and we're engaging, the bandhas, which is that Kegel thing, the root lock, and then the belly button towards the spine thing that I talked about in the first couple of weeks, along with our breathing. If we're breathing is how we move the body, and having an equal inhale and exhale and using the ujjayi breath, that part, turning the senses inward, all of these things we use, that it enables us to become aware of the body language, the conditioning that we have, our aversions, our desires. They're all, as we go through that system, we can see them in our physicality, how we move. Says a lot about who we are. Okay. And so that brings us to another klesha. So awareness leads into the idea, the realization that this klesha, the I amness, ego, iti, I don't know what the Sanskrit word, I don't have it written down here, but we realize that those outer layers of ourself, so back to this kosha drawing, so this one represents, all the energy all the way to the very outer layer, and this is our food body out here. One in is the pranic body, the energy body, and we keep going till we get to this divine center that we are part of divinity. We realize then, by working with this food body and the pranic body, that that's not all there is to us. We become aware of those outer parts, and that because we're aware of them, then by inference, I guess, we realize, that there's something else there. So we can kind of let go of the idea that we are just a physical body and a brain. And that brings me to this quote that I have seen around, and I'm pretty sure one of the first places that I saw it was in a therapy office over somebody's door. And it says, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate. And that was Jung that said that. And so I think that the Ashtanga yoga practice is a very methodical way of giving yourself the ability to, and especially with a good teacher, the ability to make the unconscious conscious. So, by studying our body language, basically. So, and then the other klesha, there are 5 of them. So this is the 4th one. And this one actually is like the overriding one. This is what is kind of where they all come from, I guess, is ignorance. And so once we realize that we're more than just flesh and bones and a brain, we realize that there is something else. And so then we shed a light like on that ignorance is kind of revealed to us. And we realize that we can, since we're not just that, we can actually, with these other parts of ourself, exercise some control, so discrimination over our aversions and our desires. And so, you know, working on that in your asana practice is one thing. And that asana practice and having the austerity, the discipline to work on that every day, the physical asana practice and working on your desires and aversions in that practice, you know, sticking to a prescribed system like that and proceeding through it, kind of is like you're renewing your commitment every day to carry that forward into